Let's hope that I haven't forgotten anything, because I feel like I did. Which never happens, obviously, so that's probably just me being paranoid. Ooh, look at that. I think we're... And we're live. Oh, it's full screen me.
Whoa!
There we go. All right, let's see here.
Boom to yourself there. That was a lot.
It was just a solo boom. Let me see. Do you want this tweet action here, Lewis? I know that you do.
Can't wait for it.
Really?
I mean, I can literally. I can wait. I prefer not to.
When you see it, you might be less than enthusiastic. Let's see here. There we go. Here comes the double boom, Lewis. Bow, bow. Is that loud? I hope so. All right. Clearly, we're going to have people pouring into the chat here momentarily to hear all about the new AirPods and Apple getting sued. You know what? I think most people probably won't care about the fact that Apple's getting sued. But like I was telling you guys before we started, I actually think this is an absolutely massive story. Huge. I mean, we've been hearing about this potential for, 6 months plus. And I was reading through all those charges, and I was like, what resolution is the Justice Department looking for here? Like, I don't know exactly what they want. I didn't see anything about an alternate app store. Did you guys see that?
I mean, the thing is, like, we'll get into this more when we get into the topic.
All right.
But the thing is, like, yeah.
That was the one piece where I was like, oh, this could be interesting. But I didn't say anything about that. Also, yeah, Christopher, 17.4.1 just dropped. There's actually so much stuff to talk about.
This day is crazy. Bonkers.
Yeah, we got Betty Reyes here. We got Christopher. You should consider changing your name for that. Christopher Gavin. We got Torquil Dewar. Gurn's here. Level Remix. And then Airphone Elijah's in the chat. Wait a second. We got Nathan Therian here. They're just pouring it, Lewis. The dam is broken. They saw the tweet action. Everyone's ready for us to go. And we got to go because I got to be walking these sweet buns out the door in just about an hour. And I don't even know how we're going to make it through all these stories. And I see some serious tangents on the horizon here. Look at these stories. Like, it would not surprise me if we had to skip half these, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's a bold.
Because the two of you guys just don't stop talking.
We got a lot to say, Airpod.
I just sit here listening patiently, and then I'm like, I wish you guys would stop. Let me get a word in, Griffin.
No one ever.
Okay.
Said no AirPod ever.
Hey, you don't know that. There's 7 to 10 AirPhones in the world, and although I don't think there's any other ones in this country. Back when MySpace was still a thing, and you were able to search like global audiences, I did search for Airphone ERFON on MySpace, and I think probably I don't remember what the number was. It was like 13 showed up, and they were all in like Pakistan, other countries in that area, and I thought, just think of what we could accomplish if we were united. So I started a group called Airphones United, and I invited all the Airphones worldwide into the group. No one joined it, Lewis. Not a single
Hard
one.
to believe.
They all...
Did you ever get from your parents why they decided to name you Airphone?
Well, my English is not my mom's first language, so I think she actually misspelled it. I think it was supposed to be spelled IRFAN, and she spelled it wrong. So I think that might be the reasons why there are so few Airphones. But the nice thing is one day I just decided to go search to see if the URL was available, and it was. So I own airphone.com. I was like, if I were named Lewis.
Is IRFAN a more common name?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's a much more common spelling for it. Like
maybe it was supposed to be EARPHONE.
Maybe. I don't think so. I don't think there's anyone named Earphone anywhere ever.
Earphone Elijah.
I don't think so. Darth Inkling's complaining about lag. That might be brain lag, Darth, like Lewis has.
Take it out on the listeners. It's that kind of day.
Ask Lewis about brain lag. I'll tell you all about it. Gurren saying no lag on his end. Yeah, when I first heard Airphone, I thought it was a good tech product. One of the best. Caveman's here. Can't make the live stream. Good luck. Okay, thanks, Caveman. Catch you later, dude. Thanks for tuning in.
Good
I'm just
luck.
joking, Darth Inkling. I mean, only half joking, but all right, guys, we need to queue up Mrs. You Know Who because we gotta get this show rolling. I said I was gonna not go off on a tangent for 20 minutes, and here I am.
You have.
Yeah, so this is what happens when you're with two Midwest gentlemen. Show just goes on and on and on and on. All right, if you guys are ready to roll, let's go ahead and queue up Miss D. We'll get this thing rolling. No, Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D, you're in a good mood today. Oh, yes, I am, dear. Mrs. D, I heard you like Midwest gentlemen. Oh, not at all. I prefer El Caney. Oh, really? Yeah, he's not from the Midwest. Oh, no, he's not. I prefer him nude as well. Oh. Lewis, I feel like that went from a totally appropriate place to a place I didn't anticipate, but I should have.
Turn.
Yeah, it was definitely a left turn. It's gross. Mrs. D, and if
Right
you don't
into
mind,
the ditch.
if you don't mind, Mrs. D, no one wants to hear about that, especially poor Lewis. He's so tired of it. We just want to get the show on the road. And if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and get the music going here, and we'll do exactly that in 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30+ minute app conversation you're going to hear all week long. Oh my goodness, look at that lighting. I look like an angel in this office. Joining me today, he once wormed his way through a Cupertino sewer pipe to make his way onto Apple campus. To get a big scoop, he'll do anything to capture the story or an escaping Cultamac writer. He's the managing editor of Cultamac. Lewis Wallace is here.
Oh, it's great to be back.
Also with us, DNA test will someday confirm what we all suspect. He is somehow related to Air Force Craig Federighi. It might even be his dad. I wouldn't deny that. Have you talked to your mom about this, Griffin? I think you should talk to her. He's a writer. Griffin Jones is here.
AirPod, we're now in the stage where I need to ask you again every week. Have you bought a new computer since last week?
Oh man, I came so close last week. Don't tempt me, Griffin. Yeah, I came so close. Once I saw those refurbs on Apple's website, and I was like, holy cow, they're 15% off. And you can also get another 15% off if you know an Apple employee. So that's 30% off, like the retail price. Like that's a crazy deal. But the thing is I have the M1 Max, and it's already such a great computer, and it does everything that I need it to do. And I keep telling myself, oh, I'm going to reboot my YouTube channel. I've been telling myself that for a year and a half, and yet I still haven't done it because I have no time. And so I really don't need a new computer. So I keep not pulling the trigger. And at this point, isn't it just better to wait for the M4? Because the M4 is going to be an absolute monster. So
That's what I've been saying. I have one more question, as I guess the closest thing that we do on this show to follow up. Since last week, you got a mysterious FedEx delivery. Was it your Fuji X106?
You know what? I really appreciate you to asking about that. So just a little bit of context. So I had ordered this very hard to get camera. For any of you who have been trying to get the X106 VI, it's impossible to get. I mean, Fujifilm knew this was going to happen, but even still, you can't find them anywhere. If you try to pre-order one, it's going to be months and months till you get one. And I had ordered one from this website that ended up canceling my order. And I was like, dude, I can't believe this. Because I pre-ordered it. And then they canceled my order. Because I guess they couldn't get enough stock or whatever. And so on the same day that they canceled my order, I got a shipment notification. And it didn't say who it was from. And I looked at all the shipping information. And the box was the same weight and the same size as a Fujifilm X100 would be. And so I was like, did they screw up my order? Did they think that my order was canceled, but actually they fulfilled it? And it was shipping from the place where I thought it would come from. And so I was like, holy cow, they shipped me a camera and they didn't charge me for it. I'm getting a free camera. That's what I thought. And so I kept checking back, and watching this thing slowly progress towards my house, wondering the whole time, like, what is this thing? So finally, something arrives, and I was like, dude, that is definitely a Fujifilm camera. I got the box. It looks exactly like it. And I open it up, and it was not a Fujifilm camera. It was something that one of our sponsors sent me. It was actually a full-on manscaping kit from Manscaped. Now, they're not sponsoring this show, so I won't talk about it yet. But many of you know, if you've been listening for a long time, I like to go full dolphin, Lewis. I gotta work on my dolphin sound. And the
sounded more Peter Griffin than dolphin.
I'd go full Griffin, which is also full dolphin. That's something that you don't know about Griffin. You also know that I like to go full goat, which Lewis loves. Dude, I'm sorry. People are probably wondering.
Full tangent.
What the heck are we talking about?
Oh no, God.
Sadly, it was definitely not the Fujifilm camera, which I was so sad to see. I'm definitely going to work on my dolphin noise. I think I can nail it, but I have to listen to it a few times. So by the time the Manscaped spot comes up, I'm either going to have a perfect dolphin sound or I'll get one added to the soundboard. One of the two.
You need to watch Day of the Dolphin.
ASAP. What is that?
Really?
I've never even heard of it.
I can't believe. I thought for sure you'd have like every single episode, or not episode, every single catchphrase memorized.
No, but it sounds like a dolphin horror movie. Is that true?
Let's see. The the IMDb description is: a marine biologist teaches his dolphins to communicate in English, but shady characters plan to kidnap the trained mammals for a more sinister purpose.
Sinister purpose for
1973 movie. I remember crying during this movie, Irfan. So
because it was so bad or so sad?
No, because it was so poignant. I think you should get on Amazon, order some Kleenex.
Okay.
And
all right,
cue this one up. And if you could talk like that, you're really going to be a winner.
I'm definitely going to work on that sound. I'm going to have nailed it. You guys are all going to be proud of me. I promise you. Okay. Let's see here. Let's get this thing rolling. But before we actually do have some sponsors this episode. Do I have them pulled up? Please. Oh, thank goodness. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, which is removes I think most of the big barriers for actually doing therapy. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And to switch therapists, you can do so at any time for no additional charge, which is also important because, you want to make sure that you are matched up with the right person, right? That's really important. And, look, no shame in doing therapy at all. I can tell you, life is hard. Life is hard. And sometimes you're going through something and you just need someone to talk to help get your thoughts organized or to figure out, what plan of action you should take or what you need to tweak in your life. Just to make your life easier, more bearable, to come up with some different perspectives on life. It can be really useful to talk to somebody and get some different perspectives and some different strategies that you might be able to employ in your life just to kind of help cope with things or make things better. Learn what makes for, I just totally screwed that up. Learn to make time for what makes you happy. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, consider BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/cultcast and you'll get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/cultcast. Let's dive right in, gentlemen. Lewis, I think we're sending it straight to you for the AirPods updates, which it seems like we have, 17 different AirPods 4 models coming out here, all with different price points.
It's a little confusing, but
all with different levels of RAM.
Oh, yeah, right. Supposedly it's going to be the biggest AirPods launch to date coming this year. Apple could launch AirPods 4 in 2 flavors later this year, one with ANC, that's active noise cancellation, and one without. Alongside updated internals, the new earbuds reportedly will sport a sleeker new design. Apple supposedly plans to produce between 20 million and 25 million units of AirPods 4, a significant jump from previous models. So they're gonna axe AirPods 2 and AirPods 3, replace them with the twin 4th gen models, and this is all coming from, you won't believe this, but Bloomberg's Mark Gurman.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, so this is actually credible.
So you can actually believe that this is probably going to play out this way, even though it sounds a little bit bizarre. One AirPods 4 model, codenamed I love it when they give the code names.
Oh, me too.
B768M.
Oh,
rolls off the tongue.
That's the one that's going to offer ANC. Come with a charging case. It supports the Find My app, which, by the way, is awesome.
that is
With
handy.
ANC added, these higher end AirPods 4 will give tough competition to AirPods Pro 2, which, of course, lists for $249. Although we got a great deal on the website today, down to $179, lowest ever.
Wow. Oh, what a coincidence. Liquidating the current models.
Yeah, interesting strategy. An update for Apple's Pro wireless earbuds is in development, but not expected until next year. As per previous reports, the next-gen AirPods Pro will sport a new chip design and hearing-specific health features. But back to the ones that we're talking about for this year. A cheaper version, another code name, B768E, will not come with either feature.
Huh. I would actually love a pair of AirPods 4, like regular AirPods with ANC. That's the dream right there.
It sounds like you're going to be in luck, buddy.
Without the little nips on the end. No nips. I want them just regular AirPod style.
Supposedly, both these two models of AirPods 4 will get a new design, probably without those removable silicone ear tips that you hate, which is odd considering your name is Airfon.
Well, there's no reason why that would make me love silicone in my ear, but okay.
As our writer, Ed, points out, it's almost undoubtedly going to make the noise cancellation less effective.
But that's fine. It doesn't need to be hermetically sealed in your head. If it's more comfortable and the ANC works like, just my opinion here. If the ANC is like 50% effective, but it's comfortable, I'm totally cool with that.
Okay, then. Well, and they're both going to get the USB-C case, of course, instead of Lightning. That's kind of a no-brainer. But here's another thing you're going to love. Pricing for the high and low end models reported is going to cost the same as AirPods 2, which currently sell for $129.
Yep.
That would be the low end, and AirPods 3, which sell for $179. So this is what you're saying is just like Goldilocks AirPods for you. AirPods, excuse me.
They're essentially the perfect product. And I won't hear otherwise.
You're already sold. They don't even exist yet. You're ready to buy.
It's going to be an instant buy for me. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I'm like, out of all the products that I own, AirPods are definitely one of my most used products. I mean, I use them every single day, multiple times a day, and I use them in different scenarios. I use them with my iPad. I use them with my iPhone. I use them with my Apple TV. It's an instant buy. If I could only ever own one tech product, it would be the AirPods. And just think about what that would mean. I wouldn't even have anything to connect them to.
Play out of them.
That doesn't matter, Griffin. That's how important they are. I couldn't even connect them to anything, but I'd still own them.
So you find the ones without the silicone tips to be more comfortable?
Oh, 100%. I'm no tips all the way, man. I don't know what it is about my ears, but the AirPods fit into my ears absolutely perfectly. It's like I was like the ear canal model for AirPods. I can put those things in my ears and have them in my ears all day long. They don't hurt. They don't bother me. I can sleep with them in my ears. I barely even feel them in there, and yet they don't come out. It's like I could shake my head all around, and they just stay exactly where they're supposed to. It's like they were designed bespoke just for me.
Are these AirPods 2 or AirPods 3?
Any of the AirPods. It's been this way since the very beginning. All the AirPods fit exactly the same way. I think they all have the same tip structure, Lewis. That'd be my guess. But the stems, that's a different story.
Yeah. It's unclear exactly if this is good. This report says, sleeker design, right? So maybe they're even smaller than AirPods Pro, which is the same as AirPods 3, I guess. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what they come up with. The one thing I find, I like to wear them when I go to sleep, right? Like lying there, my head's racing. I like to listen to a podcast or something.
Oh yeah, me too.
I wake up in the morning and my ears hurt. Like I've had something like a corn cob jammed in them.
Like you've had something that was too large for your ear hole in there all night long. That's exactly what I mean. See, with AirPods, that's the only ear hole product that I've ever used that didn't irritate my holes. The only one.
Nobody likes an irritated hole.
No one wants an irritated hole. We all know they can be delicate, and even the AirPods Pro, can't have them in my ears. Those ear tips pressing into my ear holes, within a half hour, they're angry, irritated, inflamed. I can't
angry
do it.
ear holes. Nobody likes
angry ear holes.
Nobody likes an angry ear hole.
Life's too short for angry
But wait,
ear
there's
holes.
more.
Okay.
There's more. You should also expect AirPods Max 2 to debut before the end of 2024. Apple plans a cosmetic upgrade with new color options, and you won't believe this, but a USB-C port replacing Lightning.
There you go.
Nothing much else is expected to change.
It's time to sell your AirPods Max. You got to get ahead of this one, man. Mine just sit in a drawer anyway. I don't know how often you all wear yours, but it's time to sell.
I don't own them. I can't pay that much.
You never even
for
got a pair.
Me neither.
Yeah,
I reviewed them. I borrowed Leander's for a while, but yeah, it's $550, man.
they're not that much these days, but yeah.
$450.
And
if you find them on sale at the right time in the right color, don't buy used ones.
why not? Mine are practically brand new.
Come.
You replace the pads.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy used headphones.
I mean, one of my favorite
they
pairs
are.
of headphones I bought at a yard sale for $1. And the thing was like the leather cups are kind of like falling apart on them. I just bought replacement ones for like $20 on eBay. And it was basically like having brand new headphones.
Did you get like an earwax removal scoop or?
No, these were like over the ear headphones.
Yeah, they go
there
on
was
the
no
over your head.
earwax on them.
Yeah. Well, what about the earwax on the inside?
What?
How much earwax do you produce that your over the ear
It
headphones
just
get
shoots
wax
out of
on?
my ears.
Every time he sneezes, man, you gotta like watch out.
It's like
Most people cover
like
their
one of
mouths
those
when they
hot glue
sneeze.
guns.
Lewis covers his ears because it just goes spraying out like one of those volcano science projects. There's something wrong with you, Lewis. I've been trying to tell you that's not normal. All right. Anything else you want to tell us about this?
You want to hear about supposedly iOS 18 is going to bring hearing aid capabilities to AirPods Pro.
That's pretty cool, actually.
That's another great thing. And I like that. There's a lack of clarity on how this feature will work, but it should be better than the current live listen and conversation boost features.
Maybe you
We'll
gotta
see.
like point the stems where you're trying to listen, like Rudy Giuliani
jeez.
likes to.
It'll be interesting to see how. I mean, they're the best-selling earbuds in the world, right?
Yeah.
So Apple's trying to capitalize on this. And frankly, they're might need a little extra money coming in. They might have some expensive legal bills coming up.
I know they are under siege. We're going to talk about here. In fact, are we moving on to that next? We probably are. Yeah, that's up next. Okay, well, we have no other AirPod story. Yeah, this is breaking news. Breaking news. I won't even read the headline, Griffin. I'll just pass it to you. But like, we just saw this pop up, and I was like, dude, this is like one of the biggest stories of the year already.
Blockbuster U.S. antitrust lawsuit targets Apple's iPhone monopoly. The Department of Justice and 16 state attorneys. Who's throwing their cursor on in the Google Docs? They got to read this thing.
I guarantee you it's Lewis.
What?
The
Don't
Department
deny
of
it,
Justice
Lewis.
and 16 state attorneys general filed an antitrust lawsuit Thursday aimed at forcing Apple to open up many aspects of its ecosystem, from the App Store to the Apple Watch. The suit, which accuses Apple of wielding monopoly-like power, could bring truly sweeping changes to iPhone, Mac, and other Apple computers. The DOJ explicitly targets the iPhone, calling the device key to Apple's dominance of a wide variety of industries. The suit accuses Apple of engaging in, quote, anti-competitive and exclusionary conduct, and seeks to restore competition that would lower smartphone prices, reducing developer fees, and preserve, quote, innovation for the future. The DOJ cited the lack of an Android app to synchronize with Apple Watch as an example of Cupertino's anti-competitive behavior, and it accused the iPhone maker of stifling what it calls super apps. The Department of Justice said, quote, Apple has disrupted the growth of apps with broad functionality that would make it easier for consumers to switch between competing smartphone platforms. It gave no examples of these, though. The iPhone maker's refusal to allow other payment systems access to iPhone's tap-to-pay system also came under fire, quote, inhibiting the creation of cross-platform third-party digital wallets, according to the Justice Department. In addition, regulators object to an Apple policy that blocked cloud gaming services from the App Store. That might explain why Apple reversed this rule earlier this year.
I think they have been trying to prevent this for some time now.
Yeah. iMessage also came up with the Justice Department alleging Apple has made the quality of platform messaging worse, less innovative, and less secure for users, so its customers have to keep buying iPhones. That I have a hard time believing, but I'm getting ahead of myself here.
I think the exact opposite is actually true, and I think the government hates them for it.
It's just been held back by the fact that SMS is a terrible standard. And you know what? Apple is already adopting RCS next year, and they've announced that in advance, so whatever. Moving on, the Justice Department's lawsuit is seeking an unspecified financial penalty. It also wants the court to order Apple to open up messages, which Apple, quote, undermines with blue bubbles on Android. Allow cloud streaming apps and alternative digital wallets with direct NFC access and more. In Epic Games' 2020 lawsuit over App Store restrictions, Apple successfully argued that the App Store greatly benefited users by protecting against malware and fraud. Apple also argued that the App Store doesn't lock in consumers who could easily switch between iPhone and Android. So the crux of this case that I think the Department of Justice is going to have a hard time justifying is that at the core of this, Apple isn't a monopoly. The U.S. is their strongest market, and they only have a 55% share. If you read through their document, at some points they try to carve out like a very niche market so that they can define Apple as being a monopoly, saying that if you add in Apple and Samsung, which doesn't make sense, Samsung is a competitor. If you add them both together and you only look at the smartphone market over $700, which is supposedly a completely different market, then they combined have 90% share, which it's like saying, oh, Cult of Mac has a monopoly on Apple tech journalism if you only consider independent blogs and you add us together with 9to5 Mac and Mac Rumors. Like,
that's what I think about that. Sorry. Yeah, they're being very specific in their definition, and I don't think that the definition meets the true definition of a monopoly, as you just said.
Like
and there are other ecosystems that you could go to. Now, I think that some of their points are actually legitimate, although I don't know if these things that they do are illegal, such as, locking everyone else out of their NFC functionality.
Like, that's a legitimate security concern. Like, the Apple Wallet only has access to that because all of that payment information is stored in the secure enclave, and Apple doesn't want anybody else to access that.
Although they are starting to open that up a little bit, so I don't know if there are ways that they could do that to make things more secure. It's hard to know where the line is, right? Like, I get Apple's argument that they are trying to keep things closed because they don't want to... Well, they want to keep you safe and they want to keep their devices secure. Like, I get that, and I think there probably is an element of truth to that. But we also know that it's very convenient that Apple doesn't allow some things, and there's certainly going to be some kind of financial motive involved. And I think the App Store is just such a perfect example of that. Like, not letting you install apps outside of the App Store like you can on the Mac. I always use this example because I just feel like it's just absolutely bulletproof. It's like, dude, they let you install apps on the Mac from anywhere, and then they say that they can allow that on the iPhone because then the iPhone wouldn't be secure. Well, is the Mac not secure? Because I thought the Mac was secure. So which is it? Like, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth here. And clearly I think their motivation is because they want to make every single dollar that they can from the App Store. And I think more than anything else, what I think is interesting about this lawsuit, whether or not they win, is Apple is under siege. I mean, this is happening in Europe. We had been talking about this happening here in the U.S. Now it is. I don't know exactly what the government is looking to get from Apple. Some of these things seem kind of ridiculous, like to make your messaging platform work with other messaging platforms so that people don't have green bubbles. It's like, who cares about the green bubble? Not to mention, dude, there's so many messaging apps that are cross-platform that Apple allows. You can use Signal, you can use Telegram. In fact, one of the ones I use most often these days is Telegram because it's cross-platform, and you can download it on any device that you want to use. And it's a way more robust messaging app than I think the Messages app is, although Apple's making it better, especially now that they've added the ability to... Did you guys know that they did this? That you can add emoji as stickers to messages?
Oh, I might be offline.
Oh, you're still there, Griffin. Can you hear us?
Rest assured you're here.
I'm back. Hello?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
You actually didn't go anywhere. You just looked really confused for a moment, and then you started saying, uh-oh. And we were like, what? What happened? But you couldn't hear us.
Griffin bot is glitching out. I'm offline.
I told you we should have upgraded to the pro account, Lewis. We ran out of Griffin bandwidth. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Interesting. I think I might be having internet troubles because you are cutting out from my perspective.
Yeah, you just froze for a sec. Let's see. Oh, you just got booted from the
Okay.
cast too. So I hope you're recording.
Geez, it's all
your own.
over.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got a local recording going.
Okay. Good. Well, it doesn't sound bad to us, but you do keep like every once in a while start doing that scene from Wayne's World. Lewis, were you gonna say something?
God, I can't even remember now. I mean,
Okay.
I've started reading this 88-page document, from the DOJ. I don't know. I just read the whole thing, and it just seems ludicrous. There's so many things that seem out of date. So many things that seem just silly on their face. I mean, why are they complaining about green and blue bubbles? Who cares?
Yeah.
What does it say? Something like, oh, well, the green bubbles are devalued or something. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I got really irritated by the whole thing because I was just like, it just seems like basically saying, well, you invented this device and everybody really likes it, and you're making too much money for us to approve of it. It's like, okay, well, go break up Ferrari because they sell expensive cars. I mean,
Yeah.
And one of their goals is more affordable smartphones. Well, guess what? You can get an Android phone for pennies. It's not like the iPhone. Nobody's got a gun to their head saying you're going to buy an iPhone and it's the only possible thing. And we've bought up all of our competitors and shut them down, and it's impossible to get anything cheaper than an iPhone. I mean, I don't know,
Apple's
man.
own iPhone SE discredits it. It's a new iPhone you can buy for $429.
It's crazy. I mean, I read this stuff and I'm like, what are you talking about? iPhone monopoly. I mean, how many phones are there on the market? I mean, yeah, it's successful. Why? Because people like it. Is that against the law to produce a device that people like? Apparently, to these commies.
I mean, it's almost like.
Am I allowed to say commies?
We just got taken down by YouTube.
Like,
Sorry, you said the wrong word.
It's some kind of like, punishment, but they're just punishing success. I don't understand what possibly they're doing in the interest of U.S. consumers. Oh, we want to have some cheaper. I mean, basically, they're saying iPhones should be cheaper. That seems to be their argument. iPhones are really everybody wants an iPhone and they should be cheaper because we don't like that price point.
You can also yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I haven't quite gathered up all my thoughts because I just keep reading it and just feeling more and more like it's a bunch of deluded nutcases.
I think what dilutes their argument is that it is so broad. I wrote a blog post about this three years ago, and I'll put a link in the show notes or something. There is a legitimate antitrust case to be held against Apple, but it's like one of the many illegitimate points that they bring up. Like, I have a few quotes here. Quote, Apple has created an unfair playing field by not including their own apps on their phones, not by including their apps on their phones by default, but by preventing third-party apps from implementing the same basic features as their own.
Yeah.
Like, sure, Apple does have a lot of, only the Apple Maps app is able to have like the rich notification banners. Google Maps can't have that. Only Apple Maps can have like the lock screen display. Google Maps can't have that. There's a lot of exclusive features that Apple's own apps have that third-party apps can't do at all. Here's another quote. Unless you are too big to ignore, third-party services lose 30% of the revenue to get placed on the App Store. Effectively, Apple is allowing its team to run a 350-meter race instead of a 500-meter race because it owns the track and field. We talked about that just last week with Spotify. And here's my favorite quote at the very end. Apple could, and if they want to maintain their position as judge and jury for their own App Store, should make iOS 15 all about empowering their developers. If they had done that years ago, they would not be in the same position that they are right now. Like, it's like Irfan said, they so desperately cling to that 30% tax that they stick with on the App Store that if they had been more lenient about giving that up, I don't think we would be in this position whatsoever.
But they already did cut that back.
Yeah, but they did too little too late, Lewis.
For too little too late. Only to 15% and only for developers who make under $1 million a year. If you're too successful, then you don't get that rate.
If they hadn't been maybe so greedy for so long, then this wouldn't have happened. And it boiled over, man. And now it's bubbling. And now they're like, whoa, we got to try and deal with it. It's too late, man. Like, everyone's pissed. Like, the tide of culture is turned against you. People are unhappy with the fact that you have so much control over your ecosystem. And I think in many ways it's fair that Apple does. But if you're not going to allow competing app stores, if you're not going to allow people to bypass your built-in systems, your inbuilt app store, and you're going to force them to use your app store and play by your rules, like, I think it would have been more fair if they're like, hey, here's our app store, you can use it. Just like on the Mac, man. It should be just like it is on the Mac. Like, hey, you can use the app store, here it is. Now, we know how the app store works on the Mac. It's not nearly as successful as it
Nobody
is.
uses it because Apple
it.
takes too much out of it.
Exactly, because they don't see a value in it. The reason that Apple makes so much money on the App Store is because they force you into it. And it's just so obvious. And I think that consumer sentiment has turned against them in that way. And now the government is getting involved, which I don't know.
Consumer sentiment has turned against Apple? I don't think anybody gives a crap about any of this.
I don't know. Well, I guess when I say
developers do.
Okay, so maybe it's more accurate to say developer sentiment, but I think, well, yeah, maybe not most users. It's just guys like us, or maybe specifically like me, and maybe not even you guys. I don't want to speak for you guys. But like, and I've said this before, what is so annoying is you buy this product and you buy it for full price. They're not subsidizing it in any way. They're making a profit on you. And then they dictate to you how you're allowed to use it. And if Apple doesn't want to allow an app in the App Store, then you, the user, just don't get to have the app. And I think that's deeply unfair. It's like you should be able to use your device like you would use your computer and install apps from developers that Apple doesn't like. I don't care who Tim Cook likes. Like if he doesn't like an app, fine. He can not like that app. But why should he not allow me to use that app if I don't want to use it or if I want to use it? So I think that's unfair. But whatever you think is fair or not unfair, now the government's getting involved. And who knows what's going to happen with this. I mean, this is going to have, it could have massive implications here in the U.S. And I think more than anything else, if they lose, and I think that this is probably in no small way part of the motivation. I don't mean to be a cynic here. Maybe a little bit conspiratorial, but like the Justice Department is seeking an unspecified financial penalty. You don't say. They want a big old chunk of money from Apple. Everyone's coming to the power teat. Everyone wants a little suckle. It's like Apple's got all this money. EU keeps leveraging these fines against Apple. Why? Because they're a piggy bank, man. You can come and ask for money, and even if you don't get $10 billion, maybe you just get $500 million. Hey, we could use $500 million. The governments of the world always have a need for more money. And why not see what you can get from Apple? I mean, you have unlimited resources to sue them. So why not go after them? And I think that probably in no small way is part of it.
An interesting point of comparison is that, the Department of Justice is not a legislative branch. They can't enact Digital Markets Act in the same way that the European Commission has in response to this. Mm-hmm. The Digital Markets Act is new legislation. The Department of Justice is trying to rule on like the Sherman Antitrust Act, which is different. I don't think the end result of this is that the U.S. has alternative app marketplaces, because that requires new legislation like what we got in Europe.
Well, it doesn't require new legislation if Apple concedes to some of the charges here and then just provides those things without being legislated, which could end up happening. Like they could say, okay, we don't want you to be suing anymore. We're gonna settle with you. And as part of the settlement, we're going to do all these things. And then they will open up, their NFC, which they already are doing, maybe open up the App Store. Of course, there'll be a large, healthy penalty that they'll pay to never do it again. And they'll say mea culpa, and then they'll all move on with their lives. But I don't know, man. I just look at the stock price. It's been flat for the last year, maybe longer. And Vision Pro was supposed to be this big thing. It's certainly not been as huge of a success in the initial launch as Apple probably had hoped. And now you have these lawsuits in Europe. You have these lawsuits in the U.S. I'm like, dude, they're just getting it from all sides. They're just getting it from all sides.
You should have switched over to NVIDIA stock before their conference when you first talked about it 2 weeks ago.
Don't even.
All right, I just want to rub that in one more time.
Don't even mention that name around me. It's so painful. You've jabbed me in the heart. I keep thinking it's too late. NVIDIA's got to stop here. This has got to be it, right? It's not worth switching. It's like when you're sitting in traffic and the lane next to you is moving and you're not, so that you get over and then it stops. It's like that scene from Office Space. By the time you get in, the momentum's gone and you've missed it. You've missed the movement. So I don't know if it's worth getting into NVIDIA, but then I look at their stock and I'm like, dude, every week I'm gonna look at it right now. You guys are gonna make me. You're forcing my hand. I'm doing this because of you, Griffin. I don't even want to do this. Oh my goodness. Let's look. NVIDIA in the last, let's see here. In the last day, up 1%. In the last week, up 5%. I don't think Apple's up in 5% in the last year. In the last month, they're up 35%. Oh no, what have I done with my life? In the last 3 months, up 86%. Dude, who in the chat was saying that NVIDIA needs to be sued? Stock is at 915. Yeah. Oh man, you want some lawsuits for NVIDIA? I don't know, man. NVIDIA doesn't have a monopoly. They just have a dang good product that everybody wants, and they've positioned themselves to be integral to the machine learning movement. I mean, what else is there? If you want to be in the machine learning game, you have to have NVIDIA GPUs. Who else are you going to buy GPUs from? Intel? I almost just hung up on you guys. That's how heated I get about this topic.
Time to punish their success.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder how much of an element of that is like people don't like it. People always want to tear down the leader. You know, when you get ahead, people want to tear you down. And yeah, anyway. Look, do we have any more to say about this? I was supposed to be leaving in 20 minutes. And we have like 18
whole thing gives me a headache.
We'll be following this, of course, going forward, but this is huge. This is huge. Apple being sued by the Justice Department. I can't remember the last time we had a big antitrust lawsuit like this.
Yeah, you know, now we got years and years of pondering this garbage.
Well, if we see something come up that's interesting, I mean, just by their own logic, you know, they're saying that Apple's too popular. They need to open up their ecosystem to other players. Like, what's next? Are we going to go after PlayStation? They're pretty popular. Like, should you be allowed to play Xbox games on your PlayStation? Because, whoa, we need cross-platform compatibility. We can't have green bubbles. It's like, dude, they're different systems. People get to choose which one they enter, you know?
Well, people who work in the Justice Department, maybe they don't play Xbox or PlayStation. So how
well,
would
that's
they
their
know?
problem.
It's
They
completely
spend too
outside of
much
their
time
privilege.
talking about law and not enough time playing Xbox. That can be part of the problem. But I just think that a lot of the logic that you use for phones, Apple, they apply to so many areas of life. I mean, and they definitely apply to the video game console market. I mean, it's a locked down system that uses a specific OS and a specific marketplace. You have to buy all your video games from one specific place, and they're locked to your console. You can't take them to other consoles. You can't use controllers from one Xbox or from one console on another platform. I mean, it's the exact same thing. Now, phones are obviously a much bigger market, but I mean, I think that the actual conditions of this suit seem to also fit PlayStation, Nintendo, you know? Car parts, yeah, there's another good one that's like, I should be able to put an Audi engine in my Subaru. Why can't I do that? That seems like it's discrimination. It's like, no, dude, you bought an Audi, and you realize that was a terrible choice. Okay. Before we move on, you know it's not a terrible choice, Lewis.
Buying an iPhone.
I can't tell you yet because I actually don't know. I'm not looking at my notes.
Oh,
You know what's not a terrible choice, Lewis? Signing up for Squarespace. Boy, oh boy. If you have been thinking about starting a website, may I recommend squarespace.com/cultcast to get started. You can build a website. You won't need to know how to code. You don't even need to know how to be technical. Everything's drag and drop. They're like the Apple of websites. Shouldn't say that too many times. Justice Department might be listening. Wait a second. What do you mean?
They offer a superior product? Let's get to the bottom of this.
Quick, boys, get in the cars. Let's go over there. But seriously, I've been using Squarespace for, I don't even know, 10 years. And their websites are rock solid reliable. And once you have it built, you don't need to do anything else. You just launch your site. Squarespace has, I don't know, hundreds of employees responsible for making your website look great on every device that visits, which is like the magic. You'll build one website. It's easy. It's drag and drop. Promote your business. Start an online store. You can build a membership website. And then Squarespace does all the hard work to make sure your website works on every device out there, whether it's Android, whether it's iPhone, whether it's iPad, whether it's some kind of subpar Android tablet that no one actually wants. You can use whatever you want, and your website's going to look great and work great, which is kind of magical. Because before Squarespace, you had to do all that work yourself, pay a developer, and it was a huge pain, especially all the testing and everything. And now it just works. Grow your business online easily. Have an online presence. If that's you, if you've been wanting to do that, Squarespace is what I use. And yeah, they sponsor the show, but I pay for their service because it just works, and it works reliably, and it's so easy to use and maintain. If you want to get started, go to squarespace.com/cultcast. Build a website, see how you like it. If you want to continue your service after the trial, just use code CultCast at checkout. You'll get 10% off your first purchase. If you do a year of purchase like I do, you get an additional discount, which is really nice and makes it a great value. Squarespace.com/cultcast. Okay. I have absolutely no idea where we are or what we're supposed to be doing next. Someone save me. Oh, wait. Oh, here we go. Lewis, I got some great information for you. Actually, you got some great information for us. Yeah. I almost just did your story for you, but I'm not going to do that.
Oh, God. So iOS 18's generative AI features might use Google Gemini. That's the depressing headline. Apple could use Google Gemini to power the generative AI features reportedly coming this year in iOS 18. Apple and Google are reportedly in, quote, active negotiations about the possibility, but have not yet finalized a deal. Apple also held talks with OpenAI and considered using ChatGPT, according to this new report from a little news source called Bloomberg. Apple supposedly looking for a partner to power generative AI and cloud-based features, things like creating images and writing essays based on simple prompts.
Mm-hmm.
Apple supposedly worked on something called Apple GPT. We talked about this before, to power its applications and services. However, citing anonymous sources, this new report says Apple's chatbot, quote, remains inferior, close quote, to what Google has to offer.
Boy, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, right. Oh, my God.
Gemini, here we go. It's going to be fun.
Wow. And what is this, like 2-3 weeks after Apple kills the Apple Car project to focus on generative AI? And then suddenly we get this report saying, oh, they're going to have to outsource it because they just don't have it together. So and outsource it to Google Gemini of all things.
The thing about that was 2 weeks ago. The employees who they reshuffled probably haven't even moved their desks to the new department yet. You know, you wouldn't see results that fast.
No, I'm not saying you would. I'm just saying this is like yet another sign that they're desperate. They're desperate to hop on this AI bandwagon. And so, you know, maybe this is they do exactly what they did with Google Maps, right? Like, we don't have a mapping product, so we're going to use Google's for a couple of years while we get our act together, and eventually they release something better. But I don't know. It's this is. I question how much people really need generative AI on their iPhone. I mean, it's already there.
Oh, dude, it's the future. It's the future.
But does it really need to be baked into Pages? Does it need to be baked into every single aspect of everything we do? I mean, you can already get a ChatGPT app. You can already do all these other things. I don't know. To me, it seems like flavor of the month, but whatever. Everybody seems all excited about it.
Another theory I read is that Apple incorporating Gemini will be sort of just like one of many additional tools that they'll have in like their full suite of features. Like there will be a few Apple powered, homegrown AI features, but Gemini will be one of many things that comes, like when you ask Siri a question that it doesn't know and it has to look it up on the internet, instead of saying, here's what I found on the web for this, it'll ask Gemini instead, but it's not like all of Apple's features will be dependent on Google's product. Because it's the Steve Jobs and now Tim Cook mantra. Apple needs to own all of their own core technologies. I don't think they've given that up, and they've been working on this for so long. I imagine there still will be a lot of, or at least I really hope that not all of Apple's features that they're coming out are just going to be a repackaged version of Gemini.
And what they're talking about here too, though, is like the stuff that doesn't run on your phone, right? The real critical stuff that Apple's supposedly creating that will run on the iPhone. And then so basically when it goes beyond that, it sort of rolls over to Gemini or whoever they make a deal with to handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And this is on the heels of the Gemini image gen
Debacle.
stuff that happened, and I'm like, wow, Apple still thought. I mean, look, maybe Google's gonna fix all that stuff, but it's still pretty fresh. Like you'd think that you'd want to postpone, a partnership with them to see how that goes, right? And to see
I bet
what
they weren't happy to hear this.
what
this
gets
news breakout.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe that they were negotiating before that got released, but that was a pretty big debacle. I mean, the memes live on, and now here we have Apple trying to partner with Google, which they have other partnerships with Google, so that's probably why. Like I have no doubt that maybe Google even reached out to them to see if they could partner on something like this. But yeah, Gemini coming to iPhone. For the chat stuff, I think it's probably going to work great. For the image stuff, we're gonna have to wait and see. Jerry's still out on that one. I don't know. Have you guys heard anything about like the image gen update? Like they're clearly going to be working on Gemini to fix like the problem they were having with like all the race swapping and everything that it was doing. But I don't know when they're planning on updating that and re-releasing it. Have you guys heard anything?
No, I was just reading the Google's apologies and mea culpa and talking about how bad this thing was when they launched it. That's the last I've heard about it, really.
I mean, we could go on and on about that. I mean, just
how they're going to fix it.
Well, not only how they're going to fix it, but how did they release it in that form? I mean, they had to have tested this thing extensively. So it's not like that functionality was a surprise. I mean, clearly they knew how it worked. Or maybe there were certain use cases. Well, there probably are many use cases that they missed. And when it got released, they're like, oh, whoops, like we didn't account for that, right? But nonetheless, it's coming to an iPhone near you. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that topic is sufficiently flogged. As long as we're talking about iOS, Griffin, should we talk about something that runs iOS?
Very well.
If you want a good segue, it's on a silver platter for you. There you go.
iPhone 17's display, which, by the way, displays iOS, could get a big anti-reflective upgrade. A new rumor says that the 2025 iPhone might feature a, quote, super hard anti-reflective layer, which is also more scratch resistant. Seemingly, Apple will use a new layer of coating on the glass to reduce the reflection and increase the scratch resistance. I don't know why that sentence that says basically the same thing is in there twice. iPhones currently use ceramic shield glass. Apple markets it as tougher than any smartphone glass with up to 4x better drop performance. While impressive, Samsung and Corning recently surpassed Apple's offering with Gorilla Glass armor. The Galaxy S24 Ultra, you can tell that Rajesh wrote this article because it talks about Android. The Galaxy S24 Ultra features Corning's Gorilla Glass armor. It uses a new coating that claims to reduce reflections by up to 75% and has a significant real-world impact. Tests also show that the glass is more scratch-resistant than Gorilla Glass Victus 2. I don't know what that is. Based on the leak from Chinese leaker Instant Digital via Mac Rumors, Apple plans to use a similar display coating technology on the iPhone 17 in 2025. Since the company's supply chain partners have recently received the coating equipment, the enhanced cover glass will debut on the iPhone 17 and not later this year on the iPhone 16. A superior cover glass with better anti-reflective properties will help you enjoy the brighter panel in all its glory. The improved scratch resistance should help reduce micro scratches, a welcome improvement, if you prefer not to apply a screen protector to your iPhone screen. I'm one of those people. The other thing is that matte coatings can reduce the display contrast, but apparently this is a new technology that'll help that. And Apple has, of course, the best displays in the game, so I imagine that they won't want to give up on any of that quality.
I saw a story that said that Apple was going to be offering a nano coating anti-reflective nano glass coating to the iPad Pros coming up too, which I found to be interesting. I wonder how popular that would be with people. I guess if you're using your iPad for production work, you're drawing on it or something, like maybe that would be a really useful feature. But whenever you add a non-reflective coating, it diminishes the vibrancy of the colors, which I think would also be a problem if you're using it for drawing and production work and that type of thing. But apparently,
I mean,
that's coming down the pipe.
people who use the Pro Display XDR or the Studio Display say that their nano texture glass, which might be what the iPad has, and that might be different from the iPhone 17 thing that we just spoke about. But the nano texture coating thing on the Studio Display and the Pro Display XDR actually does make it look just as vibrant and high contrast as before. It just, makes all of the reflections basically vanish. And I feel like that could go along with the stories that are saying that the iPad Pro impending might have a significantly higher price point than previous ones. Because, I bet that anti-reflective, nano texture glass coating is going to be like a $500 option.
Which actually, that would line up and make sense of the rumors that we heard that iPads are going to have like these huge price hikes. Like maybe they were looking at the models that had features that were more premium like that, which would have raised the price by a lot, which we later heard, oh no, they're not going up that. I mean, they're still going up, but they're not going up by that much. And maybe that's what those rumors were all about. Whatever we get, I think we are going to be getting it soon. I mean, we talked about this before. Gurman says no iPads next week, and the internet was mad at him about that. In fact, he was just apologizing to everyone for getting that wrong. Actually, no, what he was being super snarky in true Gurman fashion. Super snarky. Like, I'm sorry that I prevented Apple from releasing iPads next week as promised or something like that. And I was like, oh, Gurman getting testy. So hopefully those are soon because I'm really looking forward to it.
Speculation is that it might be next Tuesday, which is, I think, what he was referring to there.
Okay, well, hopefully that is... Are you saying that speculation means that it's not going to be coming out next Tuesday, but some other day next week? Or what was he saying exactly?
I think a lot of people are just saying, because Mark Gurman previously said that they would be rolling out in early April. So if they announce them next Tuesday, that would line up with how they usually have a 2-week lead-in period for, reviews and stuff like that.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Well, I know I do think they're going to be soon. So whether next week or the week after, they're definitely coming. This is always when they release the iPads, is this time of year. Let's see here. One before we move on, I want to remind you all that National Backup Day is coming. And if you're not ready to back that thing up, I think it's time that you start. I mean, who doesn't back up their computer? I really don't know. That seems like such
fools who lose files. That's who.
Great fools. I mean, if you don't back up your stuff, you're just asking to lose things that you don't want to lose. Well, thankfully, we have Backblaze supporting this episode. Unlimited cloud backup for Macs, PCs, and businesses for just $99 a year. I've done the research. I don't think that there's a better offer than this. Unlimited backup. Like a lot of backup companies charge you for the space that you take up. And Backblaze, they've got to be losing money on some of these users because they let you plug in USB drives if you want. And you can back up, USB drives are like 20 terabytes now. And they will allow you to back that up if it's plugged into your machine. So I think they've got some losers accounts on their hands. But they do offer you unlimited backup. March 31st is World Backup Day. Don't be an April Fool. Now is the perfect time to be proactive and start backing up your computers. Backblaze offers multiple restore options, including rapid recovery in the event of data loss or ransomware. You can access your backed up data from anywhere in the world using their web app. They also have iOS and Android apps, so they'll be safe from the Justice Department. But here's my favorite feature. They have Restore by Mail. A hard drive with all your data will be shipped to your door. You just buy the hard drive restore service. But if you send the hard drive back to them within 30 days, you get a full refund. They don't even charge you for it, which is incredibly useful. I have been trying to download my photos from Apple iCloud. I have 2 terabytes. Just 2 terabytes is an unbelievable nightmare. It takes days and days and days and days to download that data from Apple, and they don't make it easy. I mean, you can do it, but they don't make it easy. And even when you do download it, the format that they provide that data in is actually not useful. It's not the format that you would think where it's just like a folder full of files. No, there's the files, and then there's a bunch of Excel documents or CSVs that get downloaded with your files that contain the metadata. I mean, mind-blowingly unuseful. It would be so much better if you could just download a zip file with all your files, or what Backblaze does, they just send you all your files on a hard drive. You don't have to download anything. Especially if you have more than a terabyte, dude, you are asking to be hurt. You're a masochist. So if you're ready to give it a shot, sign up for a free trial to see why Backblaze is recommended by Inc. Magazine and so many other outlets. Daring Fireball, 9 to 5. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. The Verge, the New York Times, Tom's Guide. I mean, there's a reason it's like everyone's favorite backup. Head on over to backblaze.com/cultcast to get started. Backblaze.com/cultcast to get started. I'm going to power through these last stories pretty quick. I don't think we need to go on too long. And actually, I was supposed to mention this story earlier. But Epic Games is in full swing launching their own app store. I think this is going to be just in the EU. And this is a small foreshadowing, I think, of what we have coming to the US in the future. Epic Games in February said it would launch an Epic Games Store on the iPhone in the EU. And today the company held an event at the Game Developers Conference to provide additional information and talk about fees. For games distributed through Epic Games Store, Epic will collect just a 12% share of revenue. 12%. And let me see here. Apps will get 100% of the revenue for the first 6 months. So Epic won't even collect any money from you for the first 6 months. And then after that, they take just 12%. There are also no fees for apps that offer in-game purchases or that use their own payment processing methods. I think this is what we may be in store for here in the US at some point. And this is why I think alternative app stores would be so cool, is you'll get access to apps that you may not see on the regular Apple App Store. They're going to be cheaper because now they're not paying these huge fees. And I mean, what can I say? Competition seems like a good thing. Am I right, fellas? And I don't know what's going to happen with this lawsuit from the Justice Department, but I think that this might be our future here. Which, I'm not sure I totally love, because I got $100,000+ worth of Apple stock. And look, this is not great for Papa E here. This is not going to be good. Apple's making all their money from subscriptions and fees and everything these days. And, if they have to reduce their fees, that means no college for my kids. But that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Oh, jeez.
They can all, be gardeners or, I don't know. Actually, they could probably just learn to code and do that without having to go to school at all and be rich beyond the dreams of avarice. But in any case, one last story I wanted to mention real fast. I teased it earlier, so I should at least mention it. Apple reportedly accelerating entry-level Vision Pro development, and it could cost $2,000 or less. Apple is hard at work.
Less.
It could cost $2,000 less. Thank you. Which is the same thing as $2,000 or less, actually, if you think about it.
It's better.
I actually said the same thing. But yeah, you're right. It is better because it means it would be $1,500. This is from Tom's Guide. Apple is aiming to cut the cost of the Apple Vision Pro from $3,500 down to as low as $1,500, according to a new report from the elect spotted by a leaker Revegness. How? Apple is apparently going back to the drawing board when it comes to one of the headset's most expensive components. It's two 4K OLED monitors. A bill of materials breakdown for the headset estimates it costs Apple about $1,500 to make each Vision Pro unit. Out of that $1,500, well, specifically $1,542, the price of the Vision Pro takes up a huge chunk, $456. It actually doesn't seem like it's that much. So when it comes to cooking up a more entry-level alternative, naturally Apple is starting with the display first. They're also researching how to cut the display's price tag by as much as 50%. But, they're going to have to cut all sorts of features. They've talked about removing cameras and changing some other components here, which I'm trying to skim this and see.
I find it very hard to believe that the Vision Pro only costs $1,500 to make. I feel like that's kind of the crux of the story, and I don't think that's...
Why does that seem so unbelievable? Why does that seem so unbelievable?
Because that means that like what? $2,000 out of the $3,500 is just pure profit, and that's not really...
That's where you go wrong, because the product manufacturing and components are only a slice of the operating costs, or of the product cost. The operating costs, the marketing, the engineering, the manufacturing process. Like there's all these other operational costs that get folded into every unit. And so
yeah, I mean, I understand that too, but like $1,500 out of $3,500 for the hardware, I still find that a little hard to believe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. No, you go. No, you go.
That's all.
No, you go.
I mean, $1,500 for the parts, and then how much does it cost for the robots to put the thing together and the software, every other thing?
Yeah, yeah. I think
you saw
that
those robots in that video.
Yeah,
it's crazy looking.
Those are not cheap robots. Are robots ever cheap? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, so I don't know how much their actual, component cost is, but it is only a small part of the math. And clearly, if they're going to bring down the cost of the next version or the cheaper version, they're going to have to make this thing cheaper to produce. And actually, what I thought was interesting is they might come up with a new name for the product, because it won't be the Pro version anymore. It will just be like
semi-pro.
Yeah, there you go. The Apple Vision Mid or the Apple Vision 1 is one of the names that they may have or they may be looking to use. But I don't know. I find it hard to think that people would want a Vision Pro with a lower quality screen, because as good as the screen is, it's still not as good as it needs to be, I don't think. Oh, actually, maybe that's unfair. Maybe the problem is the camera pass-through is so bad that the screens don't get to shine because the signal that they're receiving is actually not that great. But when I was watching movies in the Vision Pro, I mean, like, I was like, this is good, but this is not as good as it should be for the price tag. So I feel like
that's the other half of the story that I find kind of suspicious. Like, Apple's going to put in worse displays. Like, I've said this before. I genuinely think that Apple considers the Vision Pro as it exists today to be the bare minimum. I don't think they would put in a worse display, even if it was a cheaper product. They're just going to wait until the displays that they already have are cheaper to make. Because, it's basically the first time that a display like that has ever been made before, which is partly why it's so expensive.
Well, they do say that the second generation launch window is sometime in 2025 or 2026. So that would check out. It's like, we're going to just wait for this thing to become cheaper. But they've got to work on it now to figure out how to manufacture it more cheaply. But they're not looking to actually manufacture it more cheaply for a year and a half or maybe even 2 years or more. Who knows? But it's going to be a while, I think, before Apple releases anything that's cheaper. Like, they want people just to buy the Vision Pro that they have out now. That's it. That's all I got. Do we have anything else to say, or should I press the music button? Lewis, I leave it to you.
I'd love to hear a tune right now. I'm all worn out from all this ranting.
How about you did go pretty hard at the start. Maybe it's time to put that Napman shirt back on. Maybe take a little snooze. Here you go, Lewis. This is for you. This is for all of us, because I think we've all had enough CultCast for 1 week. So that's it. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The fun continues. We just released an all-new off-topic, and we're doing a fun new segment, the Return of Verses, where we talk about our favorite movies and pit them against each other one by one to argue over which one's best. And meanwhile, building our list of top 10 and top 100 movies ever made. We just released the first episode of that. There'll be more of those to come. So check out CultCast Off Topic. It's free for all, and ad-free, thanks to listeners at support.thecultcast.com. I want to thank everyone for... I got to say, new episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening and hanging out live, and for listening. Grin says Lou nearly popped a vein with his rant earlier. Yeah, your eyeball's looking pretty red there. I think you may need to get those capillaries checked out.
Jeez.
I thank everyone for listening and for hanging out live. We'll see you guys next time. Oh boy, now it's squirting. It's coming out his ears, coming out his eyeballs. Touche, Lewis. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, now they're dripping with some sort of weird grease. You sneezed during the episode? I don't recall. All right, everyone. I'm literally just waiting for the music to stop at this point. Got nothing to say. Got no jokes for you. Let me just sit here and no banter. No, I've got nothing. Okay, finally we made it. I'm gonna press the stop stream button. Bye, y'all.